G'day, I'm Gavin from Hurley's Fly Fishing. We specialise in guided tours throughout Victoria, but we also take groups to Alaska, Chile, bone fishing Christmas Island, and our most popular one, New Zealand. So if that's where you want to go, come in and see us at our stores in Bentley and Lumsden.
So now we're just going to fish a nymph. So that's a beaded nymph with a little gold bead head. When the water's a bit discoloured or early in the season, I like to use a gold bead to make it sink and give a little bit of flash. Later on in the year, or when the rivers are very clear, I'd go to a black bead, perhaps even a tungsten. Now you can put this to any depth that you want this fly to go. I'll just go a couple of feet. And I'm going to put on here just a little stick-on indicator. Very basic, very easy to use indicator. And we just put that on there, and that'll just sit there, and that will act, it indicates to us when a fish takes this fly, or if you can imagine, even if you were bait fishing, it's almost like a little float. So when that goes sideways or down or just stops, it's because a fish has got that in his mouth, and then you strike, set the hook, and away you go. Fish it's the same way as you would a dry. We're casting that upstream, letting it drift naturally. As you can imagine, that's not going to be able to, an animal of that size not swim very strongly. So it'll go with the current and wait for a fish to put that in his mouth, and then we'll hook him. The same principle applies. Let that float down. I want that to be very natural. And as soon as that moves, you've got to set the hook very quickly with once they take nymphs, because there's a delayed reaction between that indicator going down and you reacting as well. So well, I don't think you could ever be too fast when you strike with a nymph and an indicator. And that's what it's about. You're just throwing that upstream, letting that drift back towards you, and just wait for any movement on that indicator. And it's an amazingly effective way to fish. Like trout will probably eat about 80–90% under the surface, so they're always going to be feeding, and it just makes good reason to put what they're going to be eating on most of the time in front of them. And that's worked. It's just a nice little rainbow, and be a good couple of pound, but just great fun. And in a place like this, it's really good practice for you as well. So I mean, I'm not asking you to come here if you've been fishing for 25 years, but a good place to practice catching fish and putting the techniques that you're learning and perfecting on the rivers into practice here. You'll be surprised at how good you get at catching these trout. And we talk about netting a lot too, and it's you literally just got to tie that fish out, and we want his head to be up out of the water, and they lose a lot of their power obviously if there's heads out, and we'll lead him to the net and lift him in there. A nice little rainbow. That's a lovely little fish. You can imagine in the Goulburn or the Rubicon, perfect size. And yeah, just don't get tired of catching any fish on a fly is good. So what we've got to finish off with as part of our trout system is what we call a streamer, and that will imitate to a fish anyway, perhaps a yabby or a mud-eye or a little minnow, just something quite big and large and getting away. So we'll cast that out, let that sink a little bit, and we're doing it in 10 to 15 centimetre strips. And you can imagine pull, and then pause, pull, and that just has imparts a lot of action on quite a big fly. And that will attract fish, you know, from a considerable distance away, because it's worth the effort. You have different retrieve methods. Sometimes they need something much faster, and that really excites them and takes away a lot of their choice. We want them to react to it rather than have to think about it. So just vary your retrieve, and also your casting area. You don't want to be casting it to exactly the same spot each time. So you would normally, as we talk about, a fan, and you would cover as much area as you can. And that's, you can have, wow. Now you can catch all size trout. There you go. Now, if we're going to get one put on your wall, that may not be that one. Yeah, there, right beside the... There's a bit of a tap that it felt like just near the edge here, and sometimes I'll have a couple of goes at it and he's come back and got it again, so that's he's quite a nice little fish. I don't think he actually knows he's hooked yet. One thing we didn't explain was when you get a decent fish, you're the drag system. So when you've got a little bit of line there, you're going to strip it in, but when he wants to go, you've got to let that line slip through your fingers until it gets back onto the reel. And then you can let the reel do the work. Once you get on the reel, then you're a lot safer, Oh, he's a good sizable fish. And they're all good fun. As soon as you get a fly, and it doesn't matter where you are in the world actually, it's all good fun. We do a lot of courses, which are terrific fun up here. We can really teach a lot of people how to catch fish and, you know, their casting and the whole overall technique, which is a great way to learn rather than battling away yourself and perhaps doing it wrong. So we fast track that. Some of these bigger ones are a little bit like bulldozers, so they're very hard to turn and they'll just go in the direction they want to go. You've got to give them a little bit of respect. Once they decide they want to go, so we'll just wear him out a little bit. And it's just a great place to, if you can imagine up the Alpine Trout Farm, to come up and bring the kids. And if you haven't got any kids, you can still come up anyway. You can have an awful lot of fun on the catch and release area for the fly fishing. And don't get to take some of the, they have some amazing like fresh trout, but also the smoked trout here is to die for. So pretty cool there as well. And if you want to do one of our courses, that's certainly well worth doing as well. We can teach you a lot in a short period of time. Might be a bit too big for them. Eventually got him in, half the body in. We eventually got him. Yeah, that's why. I mean, that's a thumper fish. That's a thumper. You know, so fish like that. I mean, this is not in the wilderness, but she's still pretty good fun, just the same. Just the same. 9.5 pounds. So quite a good fish, and in really good nick. You can just imagine there's not too much they need to worry about once you're in here. Apart from a bloke with a fly rod every now and then, but. Tiger, amazingly red stripe right through there, close to the spawning time. Just incredible, incredible there. Huge big belly. Yeah, lovely big fish. We'll get him back in now, and yeah, beautiful, very good. Back in, good to go. And swim off. So I think that's about all we've got time for on today's episode of On The Fly. If you need any more info, go to our website for the show, which is onthefly.com.au. Have a bit of information about the episodes we've got coming up and some of perhaps the courses we can do and all that sort of stuff. But whatever info you need to know, just let us know and we'll certainly help you out. So I hope you've enjoyed today's show. We've run through the trout and the spawning process and a few different techniques on how to catch them as well. So I hope you enjoyed it. So I look forward to catching you next time on The Fly.